To Ignite Thursday. We are up and running. Everything looks like it's good. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. I know there's some really bad storms out there, so I hope you guys are safe. I want to first say that. Being said, Ignite Thursday, where we like to ignite change in our lives, implement new concepts, new ideas, new tools, techniques to help you ignite the change that you want in your life. And we do that every Thursday. Now, being said, today I wanted to talk about becoming a leader, right? This is a topic I haven't actually really hit on at all, but this past Tuesday on Clubhouse, me and my partner were talking about essentially becoming a leader, right? And so that kind of fostered the idea, well, I should probably actually bring that up on Thursday, because I don't think I've ever actually developed a video on this particular thing. What's up, Gavin? How you doing? It's a particular topic that I think a lot of people are attracted to and want to know how to become a better leader. So being said, I thought today would be a great day to share that and essentially give my perspective on what it takes to become a great leader. Ultimately, but before we get into that, if you guys are interested in making 2021 the best year ever, I am still doing virtual races all year. Just be aware that if something you want to do, which is nice about the virtual race, is you can do essentially almost any activity over any kind of duration, which is actually fantastic. If you want to bring in 2021, again, virtual races are in the description and in the bio if you guys are interested in that. Also, again, like I just mentioned, if you have missed, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you are on Clubhouse, my partner and I, Sean, we are going on there every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and just talking essentially about improvements, right? What kind of improvements you're making over the pandemic. We talk about business, we talk about health mindsets. We talk about all those things that we do on his and I's improvement lounge, right? So essentially, if you do follow that particular podcast, we essentially are doing that on every Tuesday. So if you're interested in that, Clubhouse, look for me, look for Discover Ignite on Clubhouse, and we go live every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Another thing being said, the Ignite Mindset Master course, right? That is also out now. That helps you essentially rebuild your mindset to ignite change in your life. I talk about igniting change in your life by rebuilding and being an observer of your thoughts. This particular course dives into that and how you can become the observer and ignite the change that you want in your life. Again, it's a very refined system that I've developed to help you do that. Now, let's get into the topic today. I've been kind of pushing this out a little bit to try to get some people in here on the live. I know it takes a lot of people start showing up towards the end of the video, so I wanted to kind of give it a little bit of time to see if people could get on here, but I wanted to get all that out of the way, all the intro and all that fancy jazz. So being said, what does it take to become a great leader? Well, how do you define a great leader, right? There's a lot of different things you can say about a leader that you can see, right? Whether it's in a manager or somebody in your life that had that like leadership role, right? And coming from the military, right? Like you are essentially thrust into that position fairly quickly at a young age. And so you learn to become a leader. And I think, when you cross that essential like barrier, right? Like, okay, well, now I'm responsible for other people. It can be extremely hard, right? Like a lot of people don't want that responsibility. But again, being in the military, you're kind of thrust into that. You don't really get an option, right? You're going to essentially sink or swim. But being said, I think one of the biggest things going into it is you have to understand that I think a leadership role is more than just about the knowledge, right? And this is something that Sean and I were talking about on Tuesday about knowledge is great, right? But you have to be a practitioner of knowledge, because if you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not actually practicing essentially what you are learning, you're not going to get the experience. You're not going to be able to essentially level up in life, right? And knowing that, you eventually will get to a point to where, if you are a practitioner, if you have attain a lot of knowledge, you get essentially thrust into this leadership role, right? Especially if other people see you as being a leader. In the military, again, you are put in that position fairly quickly as soon as someone sees that you do have a knowledge base. But to understand, to be a good leader, again, you have to be a practitioner of essentially what you preach. And that's a big thing that I feel as being a leader, you have to be very transparent in that and know your boundaries on your knowledge, right? And not be afraid to tell people, well, okay, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this particular topic, right? Like my knowledge is very limited, but also being said in the same token, right? A good leader would also know where to look, right? Where are your resources that you can essentially talk to, right? Maybe you might know somebody that can help fill that gap. And then you at least get some kind of knowledge base in whatever that gap is that will help you kind of help guide you as far as like anything else that may come about. And again, know where to redirect people if they have questions about that particular topic. So knowledge, again, is a key one, is to have a knowledge, but not just the knowledge, having the experience. Being a practitioner is huge. Again, being in that leadership role. And again, it's more than just that, right? What's up, Angela? How you doing? It's funny, you're on there and commenting, but it's not showing anything. So hopefully the signal is good, because now I got a signal bar. So, so knowledge is key. Practice is ultimately what matters when coming into that leadership role. But more than just that, I think you gotta have compassion, right? And I think a lot of people, what is interesting, right, is when you come into that leadership role, like, I think some people take it in the wrong way, right? Some people think that they might be a level above another person. And when I think of a leadership role, you have to, I think the best or greatest leaders see everybody on an equal plane, right? Because I think great leaders are born essentially in the darkness, right? They build themselves up. They gain the knowledge, they practice it, they deal with all these different things. They've lived the experiences. They know the pitfalls. They know all these other different things. And so when they get put into that leadership role, you know, they don't see it as in a role where they're over everybody. They see it as a role to where they have to help people. How can I help people? How can I give people the most value through what I've learned in the dark now that I am essentially being in the light, right? Like, how can I do that? And ultimately being said, so you have to see people, right? I think in that, to be a great leader, you have to know how to try to bring out the greatness in other people, right? Because a lot of people, they can't see it, and great leaders see it. They see the spark that people have, right? And what's up, Antonio? How you doing? It's nice to see you, man. And when you see that spark in other people, you try to want to ignite that, all right? A great leader is trying to bring that out. So if you're playing at a level field, you know, people may see you higher up. And this is what I've always felt being in different leadership roles is people may see you higher and they may talk to you differently, but, you know, to ultimately get that spark out of people, right? You got to let that person know that, hey, we're on the same level here, right? Just because of my title or whatever, don't allow yourself to get caught up in titles, right? Ultimately, what you want to do is allow yourself to be equal on that person. If that person could see you equal, then they'll be more open to talking to you, right? And this is even like for coaching or anything like that, right? It's getting yourself on the same level. Like, hey, I'm your friend. I'm not somebody that is above you. How can we bring out the best in you, right? Like, I can see it in you. And again, it's showing that other person how that same greatness you see inside them. And again, it's not the same for everybody. And being a great leader, you know that, right? Being a great leader, you understand that not everybody is the same. Everybody is going to has a unique blueprint to them. And so it's trying to adjust. And I know Angela and I talked about this on her live interview as well, is that, you know, you have to, this is where it becomes difficult, because you have to understand, you know, the ins and outs of that person. So it may take time to develop that relationship, understand people's strengths and weaknesses, putting them where they essentially can see where they are great, right? You have to build their confidence up. and that can take time. And the biggest thing here is to guide them, right? And not to give them too much. I think that's ultimately the biggest thing. Is if you can't be a leader to where you're like, okay, here's steps 1 through 5. Let me sit here and help you 1 through 5, right? Like you've got to kind of give them a light framework. Let them go do their own thing, right? Because they're going to solve issues in their own way. And if you keep jumping in every single time, and even like with coaching, right? Like you got to kind of just feed them, right? Like just dangle that carrot just a little bit so that they can kind of push, extend their comfort zone, right? And this is kind of all the same stuff that I've talked about. Oh, for sure. I'm sorry you feel that way, from brains. But yes, ultimately what it is you want to dangle that carrot, right? And help them find their way, help them find who they are, right? And you got to let them experience it themselves, because they're the ones that have to learn the tool set, have to learn all the other different things that are going to help them essentially make great strides in their life, right? You got to essentially, again, like they say, teach them to fish, right? Like you want to be able to do that, but if you're sitting there guiding them the whole time, right, they're not going to learn their own pitfalls, because again, you can lay out steps 1 through 5, understand that that it's not going to work the same for everybody, right? Step 1 through 5 isn't going to work the same for you as it does for me. But being said, if I can just kind of give you that light framework and watch you work it, and give you a tip here or there and on how it might actually help you, that will help you level up faster, right? And ultimately know how that's done, know where your strengths and weaknesses are, and then again, guide you along your way into where you're trying to get. So you want that compassion for people, right? You want to put them on the same level, right? You don't want to see yourself as above them. You don't want them to see you as above or whatever. You're just trying to help guide them. You want to have them see you as your equal, right? And give them the best value that you can, and essentially finding that ignition that you see in them, right? That light inside them, and pulling that out of them, which can take some work. But being said, coming into that, being a great leader too, is you have to not be fearful, right? I think that is a huge one too, is you're going to have to realize you're going to make mistakes, right? And this goes back into looking when you're essentially building yourself out in the dark, right? Where you have to be the person that will essentially execute when nobody is looking, right? And then when you're building yourself out, you're going to realize that you're going to fail, and be okay with that, and not be fearful of that, and realize that, yes, you're going to be in front of a lot of people, right? You're going to, in that leadership role, people are going to be looking for you, and typically you are going to be the one that's going to have to step up and be okay with failure, and allow other people to see that, right? And I think if you can show that, right, in anything you do, and stepping into that, in that position, people, once they see that, they can see the courage that you have, right? And that allows them to, okay, well, one person has done it, well, I can do it too, right? I can blast through my fear and allow myself to make change, and start igniting my mindset and making the changes that I want in my life, right? And to be able to see that it's possible, right? And so a lot of times you may need people may need to see where you started from to see where you have come. And that is a big one. If you can have visuals and ideas of where this person is coming from, and that way they can relate and know that you've overcome your fear, that it is possible, that you are human just like them, right? It goes back to being in that safe field, like, hey, I was once there. This is where I am. I've overcome the fear, and this is where I've gotten to. And realize that a fear is just something in the mindset, and understanding that fear is what's going to hold you back, from the greatest changes in your life. But it's okay. Everybody fears it. Even the people that you may see initially, right? You see the end, right? You see essentially the finish line of where somebody is at compared to where you're at. You're at the start and you're like, okay, well, there's no way how I'm going to get there, right? There's no way that I will overcome my fear because I can't see that, right? You just have these attributes and that's who you are. And that's not true. You can build these things out, right? It takes time, it takes effort, but you can get there. And so being said, one of the biggest things too is having a good sense of humor. I think should always come with being a great leader, right? Because a lot of times you have people that are very serious, and I think there's a lot of leaders out there that are extremely serious, and there's a lot of tension, and people just cannot relax. Right. And so that's why I always like to have a sense of humor in everything I do. It may be a coping mechanism, maybe even for me. But ultimately, I think coming into it with a sense of humor, right? If you can develop that in however way, right? You can even do that by listening to some kind of comedy every day, right? That helps with your mood and everything as well. But if you can develop that out, to help ease other people, right? Because you know how you feel, the other person feels the same way. If you can ease the tension, that helps, right? And it helps them. Again, you're trying to put everybody back on the same playing field. And to be able to do that, if you can calm them, ease their nerves at some point, and then say, hey, we're both in this together. Let's work through this. Let's do this. Ultimately, that is going to help you I think become a great leader, is having that sense of humor and easing tension when tension is high. Because a lot of times, depending on your environment, tension can get extremely high, especially depending, again, on who you are with, right? Some people, just getting out of the comfort zone can be extremely stressful. And this is where, again, having some kind of a sense of humor, right? Easing the tension can really help that. What's up, Charles? How you doing? And so again, trying to put everybody on the same playing field, easing that tension allows you to do that. And then at that point, then, there's not so much stress there. They can relax. Everybody can be themselves. You can start essentially finding again, that flame inside them and allowing them to see that themselves, right? And so if you can have that as a tool in your tool set to become a great leader, that really does truly help. So again, another tool that has helped me throughout the years and helped a lot of people do that is to, again, ease the tension, because a lot of times you get caught up in different thoughts and ideas, the stresses of the day. And if you can reset people's mindset by telling a joke or being playful, whatever the case is, you ease that, right? You grease the skids to allow that to happen and allow you to again allow you to find the ignition in that person, make that person great, right? But ultimately, I think a great leader, again, is just someone that is going to be on your field and can see it inside you, and not someone that's just knowledgeable, because just knowledge isn't going to get you to where you want to go, right? Practitioner, again, same playing field and pushing that out, right? Getting the best of you, right? That's a good coach in life, right? Like you see this in professional sports, you see this in anything. You're trying to get the best performance out of the person that you can. And to be able to do that, you got to know that person, how that person is, all their attributes, what tools you have in your tool set that can help you essentially pry that out of them, right? And allow them to make the changes that they want in life. But yeah, so that's essentially what I got for you guys. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions or questions you have about leadership on the particular topic, about becoming a great leader, anything you want to share about what you think a great leader is. I know Angela, she might actually have quite a bit of stuff herself. She's she's dealt with a lot of people, helping people in their lives. But like always, I think, again, a great leader is just not holding yourself above anybody. I think it's just being there, helping people, right? Being genuine, being a listener. A great leader always listens, and being genuine about it and really caring about that other person, right? And wanting to know what their goals are, what they're driving towards, completely trying to fully immerse yourself in their position, right? Because everybody comes from different walks of life, and you realize even dealing with, different cultures and people from other different walks of life, you got to put yourself in their shoes and try to understand what, again, may have worked for me will not work for you. But would you agree leadership is influence? Yes. Anytime you're influencing someone, you are a leader, right? I think, especially being on any kind of platform like this, you are being a leader, whether you want to believe so or not. If you have any kind of influence, you are leading people, right? You have eyes on you. You have followers, right? Everybody's looking up to you. You are a leader. And I think that's extremely important. But the thing is you may not realize that you are in that leadership role, right? Because you don't feel that way. And I think great leaders, they don't feel that way, right? Great leaders feel like they are just helping. Great leaders feel like they are giving. Great leaders feel like you're on the same playing field, right? Ultimately, and trying to make that change, trying to bring out the best in you naturally. And Angela being one of them, I think she does that fantastic, right? Because she puts herself on that level to where she tries to help bring out the best in people. And great leaders don't think of themselves as great leaders. Great leaders think of themselves as somebody that is trying to bring out the best in others. And so you listen to others, you find, again, weaknesses and how you can pull that out of people the best that you can with the tools that you have. And again, looking to see how you can help them with everything that you do have. It's a great question, Angela. Is there any other questions? I think there is only Angela on right now. I did have some people on Instagram, but it seems like there are no other people. Any other questions to take about leadership? I know this is a new topic I have been talking about. Probably need to actually generate some other videos off this as well. I might actually talk about it on upcoming podcasts for Sunday as well. Dive a little bit deeper about it. Again, I haven't really talked on this particular topic. Again, I like to keep a lot of the systems that you have, leadership systems, whatever the case is to simplify it best that you can. And that way you can easily repeat it, right? If you have simple, easy systems to repeat, that helps with anything you do in life. Leadership being the same thing, keeping it basic, keeping it, again, coming down to the fact that you want to keep everything on a level playing field, bringing out the best in people. And a lot of times realizing that you're not even a great leader when in fact you are. And a lot of people look up to you. And it's one thing I've noticed throughout the years is you don't really know how much of a leader or influencer you are when you step away, right? Like if you step away from something, then you realize that the people that were really looking up to you, that they come out and they essentially call you on it, right? Like they ask you, well, where are you going? What are you doing, right? And you have those people that are encouraging because they don't want you to leave, because they see that the great leader that you are, and stepping into that role. Again, a lot of times you don't feel that way, when in fact you have a lot more influence than you think you have. But again, you don't see that. And this kind of goes back to all these things to where you have to, when you're working and believing in yourself, that again, there's always eyes on you, whether you want to believe that or not. And coming on social media and stuff, you can see that a lot better than you typically normally would, because you have the people that are following you. Again, remind yourself that if you don't see yourself as a great leader, more than likely, if you have, especially on here, since it's easy to tell, you are a great leader, and people look up to you for leadership, the leadership characteristics that you have, whatever that is. Maybe it's your sense of humor, maybe it's your knowledge, maybe it's again, different attributes that you have. Maybe it was just your big heart that you have, right? It's all these other different things that add up to great leaders that people see and look up to, and people have different attributes essentially that they look for in a leader, and understand that again, the more followers you may have shows the type of people that follow you for the particular things or attributes that you do have. I'll tell more about this topic. Oh, yes. Thanks, Angela. I do appreciate that. I try to come on here and provide as much value as possible, trying to offload a lot of the stuff that I've learned to you guys and to provide you guys the best value that I can through, again, the stuff that I've lived through and practice on an everyday basis. So if there are no more questions, I think that is pretty much it for today. What leadership characteristics do I believe I have? I think, like I just said, I don't think I have like a lot of, in my mind, I don't think I do. When people say, I hear a lot of people say a lot of good things about me, wherever the case may be. And I'm not trying to just, pump my own head up here, but I always kind of downplay it, right? And because I always just feel like I'm just me, right? Just being me, just trying to take the best out of people. And I've always done that at a young age. And for like leadership, I think is because I try to put myself on the same field as everybody, because I can see, I think that's another big thing too, which I don't really talk about, is body language. Body language is huge, especially dealing with people. Because if you can see how people are receptive to different information that you're providing, like on here, it's hard to tell because you can't read people. You can't see people's faces, their body language. You can't see any of these things. You can't see if they're open and receptive, right? And so taking that element out of it, it's hard to read people, but ultimately understanding that if you can read people and stuff like that, it really helps. And it helps you be able to alter your message if somebody isn't picking up on that. And so for me, I've always felt like my best characteristics is just trying to find essentially what that person is, right? And over the years, right, like I've never been one, a lot of people, particularly, I've never been like a big talker, right? And so in coming on here, it's really forced me to talk more. I've always been able to talk if it's been something that I'm interested in, right? And that's why I always talk about people, if you are trying to become a better communicator, all you have to really do is find what interests you and you can pull that out of yourself, right? And so in helping people, I think my biggest leadership characteristic would just be the desire to want to help people, right? And I think people see that. And again, even for me, I tend to forget like my knowledge base and where I'm coming from. And I think, one of the greatest pieces of advice I think I have that has always stuck with me to this day from my stepfather was, he used to, because I used to draw a lot when I was a kid, and he used to tell me that, well, teach me how to draw. And I was like, well, I don't know how you draw. You just draw, right? I was like, I don't really know how to explain that. And he's like, well, what exactly do you do, right? And I was like, well, I put my hand on the paper so I can hold the paper so the paper's not moving around. And then, I use this particular pencil and, I do these different angles and I concentrate and I take my time. Like there's a bunch of little techniques, right? It's like describing every little thing. And so that's always kind of like stuck with me. Well, how can you help people? Well, what are all the little details, right? Like finish your full thought process, right? Like what are the details? And a lot of things you think may be normal to you aren't normal to most people, right? Like you again tend to forget, even myself, right? I tend to forget where people are coming from. So you have to essentially draw that out, right? And I think the more details you can provide help people adjust whatever you're teaching to whatever they're trying to do, right? And so I think I've always tried to do that, is try to be very detailed, be very down to earth, be very calm. Again, I'd like to include a lot of humor. I think that helps bust up the stress, right, of learning and stuff, right? Because I think that draws people in, right? Because a lot of people may come into your session or whatever with a bunch of different thoughts and ideas, about what's been going on in their day. And so I think the humor kind of breaks that up, right? The humor is like, oh, okay, let me get back in the moment. This guy's kind of funny. He's kind of humorous. He does some awkward stuff and talks funny. So I'll just listen to him for a little bit, see what he's got to say, right? So that's ultimately what I try to do, right? And if you can get that and get people smiling and stuff, people are more eager. Thanks, Angela. To try to help people, right? And I think that helps a lot. It helps break it up. People enjoy being around it, right? And then people are more willing and eager to listen to you and apply what you are teaching. So I think that's what I bring to the table as far as a leader. Again, I don't typically, again, see the humor in a lot of different leadership roles, but I like to include it because, again, it brings down the stress levels and it makes everybody even keel on joking, right? Because if people are joking, right, they feel more at your level, I think, ultimately. Well, thank you, Angela. I really appreciate that. And you need to see my drawings. I don't think you want to see my drawings. They're not as good as Antonio's. I don't think Antonio's on here anymore, but I mean, his stuff is phenomenal. As far as like any resources for body language, I do have a couple different ones. I know there's different, I have some videos on it. I know there's actually a book called Body Language. There's a bunch of different like federal investigators and stuff that use body language, and they teach body language. I have to actually get the names of those books. I'm on Instagram, so I can't pull it up right now, but I'll pull that up for you, Angela. I can hit you up with a couple of the books that I have. But I do highly recommend body language. If you are dealing with people at all in general, body language is huge. You need to understand if people are closed off and stuff. I've talked about this in a couple of my other videos too. When it comes to soft skills, body language is huge. Like, you want to know if people are receptive to your message. Eye contact, you want to know if they're looking down, looking up, right? Like, where's their confidence level, right? If you can pick that up by body language as well. Okay, not a problem. But if you ever need to know, I can hit you up with that stuff as well. I mean, body language is huge. I've read a couple books and they've really helped me understand people. I mean, I've kind of always like picked up on subtle cues, but the books really help like pronounce a lot of the different subtle cues. A lot of times you may not pick up on. It takes a while to be aware of those different things. And pick on it. If you're dealing with people on a regular basis, you can kind of pick up on those subtleties, but this again emphasizes on them, and it helps you again highlight them. Okay, well, I should probably watch this because I know, well, this person again is not receptive at all to my message. Again, being on here, it's hard to tell. You just get words. So, but Angela, if you have any other questions, I don't know if there's anybody else on here. Anybody else have any other questions? Aside from that, I hope you guys are staying safe. Again, I know the weather is really bad in a lot of places. I hope everybody has power and all those good things. Nonetheless, I'll be on Clubhouse Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well, if anybody is interested. Oh, well, thank you, Angela. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you had a good time. Have a great night, Angela. I appreciate it. And to everybody out there who's out there, if I don't see you, have a fantastic night. And until next time, guys, take care and go ignite change. All right, guys. Later.